This summer, I toured apartments all over Boston, from luxury high-rise buildings to historic brownstones. Today, I'm ranking my top 5 and showing you which ones I would actually choose and why. For me, this is the Boston lifestyle that people dream about when they want to move to this city. Even if the apartments aren't perfect, the neighborhood absolutely makes up for it. I picked the number 1 apartment that is the best apartment, and I think that it absolutely is. But the interesting thing is, I don't think that that's the apartment that I'm going to choose. Hi there, my name is Sarah, and I live in downtown Boston. I've lived downtown for almost a year now, and I've been in the Boston area for over 8 years now. This summer, I've been looking at apartments because my lease is up at the end of September and I need to move. The apartment that I live in right now is about 470 square feet, so it's kind of small, but it is in a very nice building and it's in a great location. And so I'm not sure if I want to move, but I kind of do. I kind of need more space. If you've seen my videos, you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of stuff, and I have a lot of other projects going on. I make my own handbags and I love to cook, so I have a lot of stuff. And I would really just like to have a bigger apartment. So this summer we've been looking at apartments. If you've been around for a while, you know that last summer we looked at tons of apartments too. So I thought that today would be a great time to go through the top 5 apartments that I really love and to give them rankings of why I love them. So for each apartment, we're going to give them a score, and we're going to score several different things on a scale of 1 to 10. So we're going to talk about location, the value for the money, the characters, the amenities in the building, and then just would I live here? What do I think about the building? All right, so let's get into it. So the first one that we're going to talk about is the first apartment that we looked at, which is called the Via. That is in the heart of the Seaport district, which is a great neighborhood in Boston. I love the building because it is absolutely beautiful. It's a modern building in a great part of town. They have really good amenities there. I know the day that we looked at the building, the pool was kind of under construction, but it was sort of at the start of the season, and I think they were just getting it open. I have looked at that building last summer and their pool was functional, so I'm sure that they did get it up and running. So for this building, it's a great building in a great location, and it really depends on what side of the building that you're on, whether or not you're going to have an ocean view, and if you're high enough in the building. And of course, the higher you go, the more expensive that it gets. The downsides of this building, though, it kind of feels a little bit generic. It feels like luxury, but some of the things also look sort of basic. It's like the basic level luxury. I think mostly what you're buying in this building is the location. As much as I love the Seaport district, it kind of stinks that it's so far away from 93 and you have to go through downtown Boston, or I would have to go through downtown Boston, I should say, because I work north of Boston. So in order for me to get on the highway, I have to sit in massive traffic, and then I have to go through the tunnels, which are in downtown, and that's where a lot of the traffic is. Right now, because I get off of 93 before you get into downtown, it's a little bit better. So that right there would probably add 15 to 20 minutes to my commute, and with my commute only being about 20 minutes, that would basically double it. So is it worth it to live in that part of town? I don't know. I don't know. That's why I didn't move down there this last time. I really love the area. I'm just not sure if this particular building is worth it. Okay, so let's talk about the score. For the location, for this one I would give it a 7. It is a little bit farther from work, but the area is just so nice, and it's right on the harbor. It's like literally 2 blocks from the harbor, so I have to give it a 7. For the value, I would say probably a 5. It is a nice building and it feels safe, and there are tons of amenities there, but it does feel like kind of like cheap luxury, and the apartment was pretty small. For the amenities, I'm going to give it a 7. It does have a nice pool deck. The pool is kind of small. There was a nice working space. There's a nice workout area. but again, some of the finishes seem a little bit cheap. Would I live here? I go back and forth. I think that it's definitely an option. I wouldn't have looked at the building if I hadn't considered it. I'm going to give it a solid 5 as far as would I live there. It's kind of 50-50. One of those things that I went back and forth with. I think that I would be perfectly happy there. I don't think that the extra time on my commute would bother me. I already have a reverse commute, so it's not that big of a deal. I think if the building was a little bit nicer and the price was a little bit lower, it would definitely be in one of my, it is in my top 5 for sure. Okay, so number 4 on my list is a building called 2020. This one is in the east side of Cambridge, which was a new area for me that does look pretty new and it looks very nice. There's a lot of office buildings over there and a lot of apartment buildings as well, and there's starting to be more restaurants and more shopping in that area. I was over there 2 different days and it was absolutely gorgeous both days. There's a huge park in the middle of the neighborhood and it's just super cute. I absolutely love it. And there's a Tate over there, which is one of my favorite bakery and coffee shop places in Boston. I liked 2020 better than the other building that I looked at. This one feels a lot more luxurious. The apartments were nicer and the whole building felt a lot nicer. The lady that gave me a tour was also super nice as well. I like that area feels like its own little neighborhood within the city, and it's still very close. It's just on the other side of the Charles River from where I live right now. So it would not add that much extra to my commute. In fact, it probably would be less, which would be good because I think it's one exit before the exit on 93 that I get off on now. So that would be fantastic. And it's a newer area, so everything looks nice and new. To be perfectly honest, this was probably one of the most practical apartment buildings that I looked at this summer. They did have a lot of nice communal spaces, and they even had a basketball court, which is interesting. I haven't seen a lot of buildings that have basketball courts. And there was some outdoor space with a fire pit and some barbecues and things like that. Plenty of spaces. So there's plenty of spaces to work and to hang out with your friends if you have friends over. Okay, so let's talk about the score for this place. For the location, I would have to give it a 9 because it's closer to my work, and so that would cut down on my commute, which would be fantastic. The worst part of my commute is the exit that I get off of 93 on. That exit is always backed up because it goes to Starrow Drive, and so there's always tons of people there. So if I could get off on the exit before that, that would be fantastic. The value for this building, I would give it an 8. The building looked very nice. Everything looked luxurious. It was just missing a few minor things, like it doesn't have a pool. And for some reason, that balcony with the rocks keeps coming to mind. I don't know why. I just can't let it go. I probably wouldn't even get an apartment with a balcony because she said that there were only a few on the 4th floor. So it's really not that big of a deal. I just thought it was a quirky design choice. As far as the character goes, I'm gonna have to give it a 3 because there's not really a lot of character in the building. Everything is modern and generic. I think that modern design can have character, but when I think of character, I think more of like crown molding and built-ins and things like that. And this building, it just kind of feels like all the other luxury apartment buildings. It doesn't have a ton of character. The amenities, I would have to give it a 6. Like I said, it was a little bit lacking as far as amenities go. There is no pool. I know I make a huge deal about that, and then I rarely use the pool. I have used it a couple of times in this building. I'd also like to note that pool season in Boston is only 3 months long. So you don't have a lot of time to use the pool. You have to get your act together and get up there. It's like Memorial Day to Labor Day. So you have June, July, and August to use the pool, and it goes by way too fast. So I gave that one a 6. Would I live here? I would give that a 6 as well. Like I said, it's a great neighborhood, closer to work, and I mean, the building looks absolutely nice, so it's not bad. I would pick that one over the Seaport Via for sure. Okay, so the next one, number 3, is the bigger apartment in the building that I currently live in. So you probably already know the score for what I live here. It has to be a 10 because I already do live in this building. So for this apartment, it is on a lot higher floor in the building that I live in, but it's more money. The amenities are fantastic. There is a pool that's on the 38th floor, and there's another outdoor space that's on the 15th floor. The 15th floor, the vast majority of the floor is all amenities, different living room and kitchen spaces. There's a movie theater there and a gym and a huge outdoor space that has grills. It has a fire pit and different tables with TVs that are set up that you can hang out at. One of the things that I don't like about my current space is the view. So this apartment fixes that completely. It has a gorgeous view of the harbor. So this apartment is about 150 square feet bigger than the current apartment that I live in. But the big question is, would I actually use the extra space? It's laid out quite a bit differently, and I think a lot of the extra space actually went into the kitchen area, which is good. The kitchen is beautiful. I love the island, and I would definitely use that as well as the oven, because I don't have an oven in my current apartment, because I love to cook. I would also use the extra space in the living room for sewing, which would be huge because if you follow my channel, you know I like to make handbags, and it ends up taking up a lot of space. That's one of the reasons that I'm looking for a bigger apartment, is because this is kind of a newer hobby for me, and I didn't realize how much space I would need. There's always some new fabric or new gadget that I'm buying, or, you know, this past week I went thrifting, so there was tons of stuff that I got from thrifting, and I just never have enough space. Some of the drawbacks are it is on a higher floor. If something bad were to happen, knock on wood, that it doesn't, but if it would be a lot more difficult to get out of the building. If there's a problem with the elevator, it's a lot more challenging to get back to your apartment. And there are 4 elevators here, so it's not, I would find it hard to believe that all 4 of them would go down at the same time, but you never know. It's just the little nuances of, you know, now instead of spending a couple minutes on the elevator, now you're spending 3 or 4 times that just to go up that many floors, and now you're one of the last people to get off instead of the first. So it's just little things like that. Obviously it's more expensive, so is the extra money worth the extra square feet? And I think the biggest thing to consider is, does it feel like home? Because one of the things about this building is that it is super modern. And so again, the apartments feel kind of generic. It kind of feels like generic luxury, not a lot of character, just kind of white walls and white cabinets. And that's kind of what you get. Is that really worth it? So another drawback to this building is that it sits right on top of TD Garden. There are tons of events there, which means there are a lot of people around all the time. During basketball and hockey season, there are games almost every single night. And then when there aren't games, there are concerts. And then there are other events like pro wrestling and bull riding and all kinds of stuff. Things I didn't even know went on in Boston. But now that I live on top of the arena, I always check to see when the events are, because there's a grocery store in the building, which is good. I love that. But you can't park right next to the grocery store when there's an event going on. I know it's a minor problem. It's just an inconvenience. It is a problem. It is a lot to handle, though, with events going on all the time. That means anytime that you want to go outside, there's tons of people around everywhere. And if you want to come home later, usually I get off of work a little bit earlier, and so I can come home before the traffic has started for those big events. But there's a couple of times where I've gotten home at like 6:30, and then you're in the middle of the massive traffic for those events, and that's not fun. So as far as ranking goes, for location, I have to give this building a 7 because it's right off the highway and it's only 20 minutes to work. On a bad day, it's 30 minutes. So that's fantastic. For value, I would say 7 because you get a lot of amenities and you get a nice place to live, and it feels super secure too. I don't think I mentioned the security, but it does feel secure. We have a 24-hour concierge, which is super nice. However, all of that comes at a price. It's very expensive, and you live in small apartments. For the character, I would give it a 4. It does have a little bit more character than just the basic luxury buildings. One of the things that I really nice, which is super small, but it's a great, if you have ever walked into a luxury hotel, you know that it's a luxury hotel because it smells so nice. And most of the apartment buildings around here, you walk in and they have nice music and everything around you looks nice, especially the areas that they're showing to the people that they want to rent there. They all look really nice, but not very many of them smell a certain way. When you walk into this building, the smell hits you and it's like, what is that? That is so awesome. I need that for my house. It's one of the little things, but it makes a huge difference and it makes a huge impact. It's like when you walk into a restaurant and you can smell the fresh chocolate chip cookies or you can smell freshly baked bread. It makes you feel like home. And this kind of smell, it smells like luxury hotels smell like that too. So for the amenities, for this building, it has to be a 10. There are fantastic amenities here. The whole 15th floor pretty much is amenities aside from a small space for the office. There's an outdoor space on the 15th floor. There's an outdoor space on the 4th floor too if you have dogs. And then there's the pool that's on the 38th floor. They do tons of resident events here. It seems like there's one every single month. And then they do a huge resident day party that's, I think it was in July, if I remember correctly. And they always make a huge deal about it. There's always some sort of vendor that's coming in that's giving away free breakfast or free drinks or free pizza or something. There's always something going on. So absolutely stellar amenities for sure. Would I live here? Well, I have to give that a 10 because I do currently live here. I really like living here. I think one of the major deterrents is the price. You live in a nice building and you definitely have to pay for it. It is extremely expensive. Okay, so the next one on our list is the North End apartments. So these apartments are bigger apartments and they're less expensive than the apartment that I live in now. They are full of charm because they're in historic buildings, so they have all of the crown molding and the hardwood floors that are real wood, not the fake stuff that is like, not the fake stuff that's basically like vinyl tiles. They're actually real wood with tons of character. They're close to the harbor and they're in the middle of the North End, which is a fantastic neighborhood that constantly smells like amazing Italian food, which would make you hungry all the time, constantly. So there's incredible restaurants, there's amazing coffee shops, there's just everything that you could possibly need and tons of space in these apartments. Some of the drawbacks are they're older apartment buildings, so there's basically zero amenities. There's no parking that's anywhere close to them. And you're in the middle of one of the most popular neighborhoods in Boston that has very narrow streets, but tons and tons and tons and tons of people, especially in the summertime. All of those restaurants have doors that open up, and some of them have outdoor dining. So now there's noise and there's food smells and it's all summer long. So for these apartments, it is 100% the charm that makes them number 2 on my list. When I thought about moving to Boston, this is what I thought that I would live in. This is what I thought it looked like. So let's talk about the ranking. For location, I would have to give this one a 10. It is very close to where I live now, so it's right off the highway. You're talking about maybe an extra block or two, depending on where the parking garage is. The value for these has to be an 8. There is tons of square footage in these apartments. It's just that they're not really updated. That's one of the drawbacks. The character, for these, I'd have to give it a 9. There's tons of character there. The amenities, I would say more of a 3. And a 3 is probably kind of a high number because there's not really hardly anything. Would I live here? I think absolutely. I would definitely live here. This is definitely a good option. I love the neighborhood. And I know I take a lot of heat for my $8 coffee. Actually, some of the best coffee in the North End is only about $4, and that's for a latte. It's actually better value just because the coffee's cheaper and it's better. So would I live here? Yes, absolutely. I really wouldn't mind walking to my car a couple of blocks if I lived in this neighborhood. I love the neighborhood. I love the charm of every single building. I don't know why I'm so taken with the architecture around here. I could just walk around the city and stare at the buildings and have an iced coffee and end up at the harbor and just have an absolutely gorgeous day. That sounds amazing to me. Okay, so number 1 on the list is the apartment that we looked at in Back Bay that had that beautiful bay window. I absolutely love that apartment. There is so much charm in this apartment with the crown molding and the wood floors. The building is a historic brownstone building, which kind of breaks my heart. It's one of those buildings that has been chopped up into smaller apartments. I love the history of the city and I love the history of those buildings. Being able to live in a part of that, I mean, that's the absolute dream in Boston. And the neighborhood in Back Bay is an absolutely fantastic neighborhood. I love Newbury Street. There's tons of shopping and restaurants over there. There's a lot of quirky shops. And in the summertime, they close down that street to traffic for several days out of the year. So it's just an amazing neighborhood. Plus, you're like a block away from the Prudential Center and Copley Place, which is a mall that it's kind of like 2 malls that's connected over the highway. There's tons of shops there. There's an Eataly there, which is my favorite restaurant. And they have amazing coffee. I mean, there's just tons of opportunities, tons of great places over there. And that apartment was huge for the price. It was massive. I think that one was the 2-bedroom apartment. For me, this is the Boston lifestyle that people dream about when they want to move to this city. Even if the apartments aren't perfect, the neighborhood absolutely makes up for it. Having everything within walking distance, having grocery stores and amazing restaurants, a wonderful nightlife. I mean, that's the absolute dream. So for the location, I gave this one an 8. I only took away a couple of points because it's a little ways away from 93. So for me, that would add a few more minutes to my commute. It wouldn't really be that much. For value, I gave it a 10 because this is a huge apartment for that price point. That is an absolutely great value in Boston. For character, I also gave it a 10. I don't think that you can find very much more that has more character than this. The crown molding, the bay window, the wood floors, and the amazing building that's in such a fantastic part of town. I don't think it gets better than that. For the amenities, I also gave it a 3. Again, you're down to like washer dryer connections. I mean, there's not really a lot as far as amenities go. But the ultimate question is, would I live here? Does it feel like someplace that I could call home? Absolutely. I think this is an absolutely gorgeous building, and I can't say enough good things about the neighborhood. I think that I would feel perfectly safe here and would absolutely enjoy living in this apartment. I picked Back Bay as the number 1 apartment that is the best apartment, and I think that it absolutely is. But the interesting thing is, I don't think that that's the apartment that I'm going to choose. So let me know in the comments which apartment you think I should choose. which one is the best one. Not only from the apartments that I looked at this summer, but from the ones that I looked at last summer too. If you haven't seen all those videos, you should go check them out. There is a playlist on my channel that's called Apartment Hunting in Boston. I'm going to put it on a card somewhere around here, which is a link in the top of the video, and I will link it at the end of the video on the screen as well, so you can click on that one and see all of the apartments that I've looked at in Boston. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure that you go subscribe now. While you're at it, hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me and longer videos, check out the Inner Circle membership. I would love to have you as a member. I'm doing videos every single week now, so go check it out. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I will see you again very soon.